The Four Absolutes of the Oxford Group. Absolute Love, Part 8. The final episode for Absolute Love. My name is Steve Ben Eiderstein, and welcome to the Narrowing Path, Walking the Spiritual Walk. I am extremely excited to bring the final installment of the Absolute Love chapter to you today. It's been 8 episodes were just pulled out of the Absolute Love principle from the Oxford Group's Four Absolutes, which was absolute honesty, absolute purity, absolute unselfishness, and absolute love. It's been quite the journey to go through. I hope you all have enjoyed it yourselves, and I appreciate everyone's support as we go through it. So, I will be reading from one of the original copies, or first printings of what is the Oxford Group, from 1934, I believe it was. And we will finish up the chapter. It's just about a page of reading, so it's not that much, but it's got a lot of great stuff in it, which we could expect being the end of this very lengthy and in-depth chapter with tons of great information along the way, stuff that was extremely relevant to this current circumstance we find ourselves in the world. So I'm looking forward to it. So we'll do the reading, we'll do the feedback, and then I'm also going to introduce the next book we will be reading, or at least portion of it, at the end. So stay tuned. So here we go. And thank you everybody that subscribes, that follows, that likes, that shares all of the content. I appreciate the support. It's really fantastic. I love to hear that it's getting in front of people and people are enjoying it, or they're asking questions and they're engaging with it, because that's the point of doing this. It's really to share things that I have found extremely beneficial for my life. And hopefully other people can find value in them and incorporate them into their life in such a way that they can change too. So let's go ahead. We'll get into the reading and then start tearing it apart a little bit. So this is the last 2 paragraphs of Absolute Love in What is the Oxford Group, written by a layman with a pen. And we're on page 116 for those who have a book to follow along with. Absolute love is the absolute love of God through Christ. It means not only the giving of our spiritual individuality, all the human best that is in us, but receiving from God the peace of that quality of life He gave to the world when He gave us Jesus Christ, who understood and practiced perfectly absolute love among men. Love is not only doing, but seeing. If we can see men as Christ saw them in His life on earth and sees them now, all things are possible unto us. To be actually and helpfully conscious of other people's existence, of the fact that they are like us, in that they are all separate individuals with urges and failings, strengths, opinions, desires, reasons, likes, and dislikes as we have, and we try to ally our own individuality to theirs, so that neither we nor they could be the weaker or the stronger, but partners in Christ, mutually understanding and forgiving, living together in perfect harmony of human and spiritual brotherhood, is to understand absolute love. Often it is not so much what we give to others, but what we give up for them that makes for harmony and that bond of real understanding from which love springs. God can and does give back to us so much more in return for what we have give up for our fellow men. No man has given up more for humanity than God could repay. Within us all, we have the inexhaustible wealth of God to draw on, a wealth which is a mine within us, the treasures of which become more precious the deeper we go below the material crust of the dark earth. Who is good, except he be made so by loving? Asked St. Augustine. Radiating absolute love to all mankind makes for invulnerability to hurts and misfortunes, and unites us to the Holy Spirit. That is the art of living in perfection. Well, there we go. That is the final page of the chapter. And it's got pretty much every theme we talked about in this chapter. It touched on things we discussed in every single episode of this Absolute Love. It's a great summation of what we've been talking about for the last 7 weeks. And honestly, what we've been talking about with all 4 of the absolutes, right? Because it said in the beginning of Absolute Love that absolute love was the most important one, because from absolute love, the other 3 came, right? So it's no surprise why this one has so much good information in it. So let's get into it. And I love the way it opened. The first line of this paragraph is something that it's clarifying, which is very good. So absolute love is the absolute love of God through Christ, right? So this is why we refer to it sometimes as Christ love or righteous love or Christ-like love, right? This idea, this concept of absolute love. And it's really sharing that, like, this is a love that manifests through us, right? This is something that we are supposed to receive and then practice, right? And then act from a place of absolute love, just as Christ did, just as Jesus Christ did, right? Like, this is something that we're supposed to be bringing with us into the world. We are given the connection through this experience. We're given this experience of absolute love through this connection to the God of our understanding. And through that experience, we're not supposed to just hold on to it for ourselves. We're not supposed to selfishly strangle this feeling and this sensation. We're supposed to bring it to the world. We're supposed to bring it to the people around us. We're supposed to, in every area and every level of community and country and world. It's what we are supposed to act like when we're coming from a place of love. And we're supposed to emulate to the best of our ability this perfect example of absolute love, which was Jesus Christ. And I've talked about this when we're talking about other books. I might have mentioned it along the way when we're talking about the 4 absolutes, but remember, we need to constantly be striving and aiming for an ideal. We need to be looking at something to say, I want to be that way. I want to be like that. I want to achieve that type of behavior, that type of character, that type of positive influence on the people I come across, right? And for a lot of people, the ideal that they strive for is the ideal that they strive for, they have accepted as Jesus Christ. They've accepted it, that they believe that is the most godly way a man could act, a man of flesh could act. And we need to strive to be that way, right? We need to always be aiming for that behavior. We need to always be aiming for a behavior, before a display of absolute love as Christ would have done. That is the ideal we need to constantly be going for. Not just giving up and saying, I'll work on it next time, right? Like, we're supposed to be aiming at that in everything that we do. So this next line actually kind of expands upon that. It says, it means not only the giving of our spiritual individuality, all the human best that is in us, but the receiving from God the peace of that quality of life he gave to the world when he gave us Jesus Christ, who understood and practiced perfectly absolute love among men. Right? So it's not just the giving through action, right? We're expanding on what this really means a little bit more here at the end, right? So it's this love that God gives us. It's not just our thoughts, our words, our actions. those all come from a place of absolute love. Those all need to originate from that place, right? We've talked about how we can have disingenuous actions, right? That just appear hollow because we're trying to do the right thing, but it's coming from the wrong place. When we come from a place of absolute love, it manifests in our thoughts, in our words, in our actions, right? In our behaviors, in our character, right? But there's another piece that we have to bring in it. And that aspect of absolute love is the peace we carry within ourselves when we practice absolute love, right? They're just saying this peace of that quality of life that he gave us through Jesus Christ here, right? With that serenity that many people go for, that people want to achieve, and that people are doing anything they can to get. That's why a lot of people have all these addictive behaviors, whether it's to substances or other behaviors unhealthily, and are doing the things that they're doing is to achieve some semblance of peace and serenity and love and calmness in their life, right? But this is the key to this whole thing, is to practice from a place of absolute love. Jesus Christ was the greatest example of peace that comes from the practice of absolute love with our fellow man, right? We receive that peace as well. And we bring that with us wherever we go. I've talked about it on this podcast before. Those people that you're just around and you feel calmer. You feel relaxed. You feel like you can breathe a little deeper. Your shoulders can drop a little bit. Those are the people that have the peace of God within them. And those are the people that are practicing absolute love in so many ways we probably couldn't even count or realize. Those people exist. I've come across them. And that's what I strive to be. I strive to be somebody that practices absolute love in every area of his life to the best of my ability in any given moment. And to bring with me the peace of mind, the peace of soul that comes with the practice of absolute love that we're talking about here. Because that peace, that serenity, is the biggest gift God gives us. And it comes from practicing this absolute love. It's kind of amazing when you think about it, because there's so many people that are scrambling to get that peace. They look at people and they say, that's how I want to feel. We use chemicals to try to make us feel that way. We use distractions to make us feel that way, right? But it comes from the practice of absolute love. And also, I might say, the relentless practice of absolute love, right? Remember, we want to be constantly pursuing this ideal, this, for those who are Christian or follow the teachings of Jesus, to the constant pursuit of behaving with Christ-like character, to hold absolute love in our hearts. That's what we're supposed to be pursuing. And we know that when we're pursuing it and we're doing well at it, because there's a peace that comes along with it. And this doesn't mean we have to be perfect either. I want to highlight that as well. There's a lot of us that are perfectionists that say, if I can't do it perfectly, why even try? And I understand that. I've been like that before. But this is a case of progress, not perfection, right? And just because you can't be perfect, though, does not mean you shouldn't try. You should try in every moment of every day to practice a absolute love for your fellow man in every capacity and every action, thought, word, interaction, right? And you won't do it perfectly. I don't do it perfectly, but I try to learn every single time I practice it. And also, we have to be careful when we're practicing this absolute love and trying to embody this, that when we don't do it right, we don't get to slip into self-pity either, right? So self-pity is not acceptable when we fail to meet our standard of absolute love, but the risk or inevitability of failure does not excuse us from the constant pursuit of absolute love. Right? We keep walking towards the target. We keep walking towards this ideal and these behaviors, and we grow in our relationship with the God of our understanding. But we have to all start right where we're at too. We have to be willing to do this badly. So when we fail, we learn and we grow and we change and we adapt and we understand more about ourselves. We understand more about what we're doing. We understand more about what it is to bring absolute love and to bring this piece of soul with us into the world. That's what we're trying to do. Well, yeah, we have to start by being willing to do it badly and take guidance and take direction, take instruction, take constructive criticism too. But we're going to go on a little bit deeper into this. Love is not only doing, but seeing. If we can see men as Christ saw them in his life on earth and sees them now, all things are possible unto us. Now, what does that mean? Now, we've talked a lot about our actions, where we have to function from, our thoughts, our words, how we interact with our family, our neighbors, our community, our states, our countries, our other world power, whatever it is, right? Whatever level we were talking about instituting absolute love at, right? The actions, the perspective, the actions, the ideas, and the words we use need to come from absolute love. But those are all quantifiable actions. We also need to see differently. This is such an important point. This is really a cornerstone of practicing absolute love effectively. It's not just the actions, but it's about your intentions coming from a place of absolute love. And when you have absolute love in your heart, when you have a loving intention, right, you start to have a perspective. You start to have a perspective that's framed in absolute love. Whenever we're looking at another man, whenever we're looking at another person, whenever we're trying to interact with the world in a certain way, right? Whenever we view the world, when you have absolute love in your heart, it will change your perspective. This is not only doing, but seeing. How are you interacting with the world? How are you seeing the world? What's the perspective that you are taking on the world? That is reflective of what you hold in your heart. If your worldview is dark and dreary and hopeless and despairing, that's what you hold in your heart. If it's compassionate and kind and understanding and loving and caring, non-judgmental, accepting, that's what you hold in your heart. We have to switch our perspective. We have to switch the eyes we see the world through from a selfish, self-centered, and self-absorbed pair of eyes. We need to see others in the world as Jesus saw others in the world. We need to see them with love and compassion, with understanding and perspective. A perspective formed from absolute love removes the condemnation, removes the judgment, the ego justification of I am better than or I am worse than. The selfish and self-centered heart is most easily identifiable through how you view the world. And when you come from a place of absolute love and we see other people as children of God and other individuals worthy of dignity and respect, regardless of what they do, other people just like us, we see them as equals to be helped and lifted up rather than bad or see their shortcomings or less than. We need not damn anybody. It's not our job. We're here to practice love and bring that into this world in a way that's healthy and kind and constructive and building. We're supposed to have compassion for our fellows and seek loving action. We're supposed to see the good in people, not the bad. We're supposed to see the God in others, that divine spark that we've all been graced with. Right? One of my favorite sayings is, the God in me sees the God in you. Right? It's just, we're more than just animals. We're made in the image of God. We have this ability to think and discern and follow righteousness and follow love. We're able to set aside selfish and self-centered desires and interests to actually pursue something healthier. And we need to bring that into how we view the world and how we see people and how we see situations from a point of compassion and love and forgiveness rather than competition. And this next line that of the reading really talks about it. It's to be actually and helpfully conscious of other people's existence, of the fact that they are like us in that they are all separate individuals with urges, failings, strength, opinions, desires, reasons, likes and dislikes, as we have, and try to ally our own individuality to theirs so that neither we nor they will be the weaker or the stronger, but partners in Christ, mutually understanding and forgiving, living together in perfect harmony of human and spiritual brotherhood, is to understand absolute love. So to see people exactly as they are, to see people as the people that they are and the individuals that they are, and to know that they have their shortcomings, that they have their failings. This is a absolutely relevant and incredible quote to be talking about right now. It's beautifully written too, right? Because it's not just to see someone's worth in a materialistic and superficial sense. We're supposed to see them as individuals, as you and I are individuals, not as what we deem is appropriate and right for them to be doing, but to help guide them and connect them to a God of their understanding, as we have been connected to a God of our understanding, and to show them the absolute love that we have been graced with the opportunity to connect with. Not to put people down, not to shove people away, not to prioritize one over the other. We're here to view other people as individuals. We are all human beings, none without their faults and mistakes. I know I have plenty. I'm not perfect. I do a lot better today. I've had a lot worse days in my life. I've been a much different person at times in my life. But today, I'm still not, obviously, where I'd hope to land. And that gives me the opportunity to do the work on myself and to continue to grow and change and evolve and to become a more loving person, a more peaceful person, a more accurate reflection of what absolute love is to other people. And to judge people for their story, for their experiences and what they've done, it's not really my job. It's not my job to condemn. It's not my job to put down, because I have my own. And that's what it's saying. They relate to each other as individuals. We all have had an experience. We've all had terrible justifications. We've all been a victim of something somewhere, somehow, in some way. And to say one is worse than the other, to say I deserve to be treated differently than another, that's just a false presentation. That's disingenuous. That's egotistical and self-centered and self-absorbed. And that'll take us down a really ugly path. That'll take us down a really painful path as well. that'll be really hard to pull out of. To see everybody on the same level plane as children of God, right? To see everybody as equals. And to stop emphasizing the differences and separating ourselves from each other and having these little camps, whether it's over race or gender or political ideology or religion or denomination or socioeconomic class or this or that or region you were born in or country you like. We've decided to use so many labels as reasons to divide when we're supposed to be maybe acknowledging the differences, but not prioritizing by them. We shouldn't be emphasizing them. Because we're all just humans. We're one step below God, right? We were made in the image. If you follow that belief, all of us. And we make decisions that we can along the way, right? And I love the way that last quote ended is to live together in perfect harmony of human and spiritual brotherhood is to understand absolute love. To live together in perfect harmony of human and spiritual brotherhood, right? We are one in flesh, we are one in spirit. The spirit's going to have to come first. Because that's the only way we can get around these superficial judgments and this egotistical way of living. That's the only way we can get around them, is to actually embrace the spiritual on an individual level and then practice that and share that with others so they can actually have an experience themselves. This is the goal. This is the goal of what anyone who practices absolute love is. This is what we are trying to accomplish. This is where we want to get to, is this perfect harmony of human and spiritual brotherhood. And to understand what the truest meaning of absolute love is. It's not to condemn and leave behind, but to forgive and grow with. Sometimes we lose that along the way. I know sometimes I have. I know I probably won't do things perfectly going forward either. But it gives us a foundation to grow on. It gives us a foundation it gives us an ideal to aim at. Because anything that divides us should be something we let go of. And that letting go of is where the hard part is, isn't it? Letting go of our judgment, letting go of our condemnation, letting go of all of these old ideas that separate me from you, that make me feel better or worse than you. Letting go of all of those old ideas is difficult. And it requires sacrifice, and we talk about that in the next sentence, right? That's why I love this reading. It's often it is not so much that we give to others, but that we give up for them, that makes for harmony and that bond of real understanding from which love springs. This is just an amazing point. It's an incredible principle as well. And it's not just giving. It's not giving from our excess, though that's not necessarily a terrible thing. It can be a great thing that you can do. But it's not going to truly show love in the way that absolute love will be displayed, because it is not giving from our excess that shows absolute love and godly love and Christ-like love. It is giving from our poverty. It is when we sacrifice something we hold dear to ourselves, something that is inconvenient, something that is difficult to let go of. That is where we find the essence of absolute love. That is where we find that place from which love springs. They phrased it in the book, which is a beautiful way to show it, right? Because those things we cling to are the things that actually block us from God. And those are the things we need to let go of. And those things that are difficult for us to let go of, that are not convenient, that are not comfortable to let go of. That's what we need to take a look at. That's where we need to take an honest appraisal of things. That's where I need to do. It is intentionally choosing to do the right thing regardless of its impact on ourselves. That is the wellspring of absolute love. That is the source of true freedom and giving. Though a lot of us kind of lose that message along the way, right? It's oh, I have extra of this, I'll give it, which is, like I said, that's great, but it's the things you don't think you can give up that you're going to find the most growth in. Anyone can just give up what they don't truly care about. And though it might be beneficial, absolute love comes from the truest sense of sacrifice. And then we get a little bit worried, like, what's going to happen when we practice absolute love? And they actually give us a little bit of direction on that, a little bit of awareness on that, a little bit of understanding that we'll dig into here. It says, God can and does give back to us so much more in return for what we give up for our fellow man. No man has given up more for humanity than God could repay. Within us all, we have the inexhaustible wealth of God to draw on. A wealth which is a mine within us, the treasures of which become more precious the deeper we go below the material crust of the dark earth. Isn't that amazing? What a beautiful, beautiful quote. And it's so accurate, right? When we actually sacrifice from a place of absolute love, we will be given more than we can absolutely imagine. When we let go of the things we've clung to and blocked ourselves off from the light of the Spirit and kept God out of for so long, the blessings are unexpected almost, and the blessings are almost beyond comprehension. And there's no limit to them either, too. That's the beautiful thing about that, is we don't know the depth of it. We don't know how deep it goes. We don't know where it can lead us. We don't know what we're going to find. We don't even know what we're missing in our spirit. We don't even know what we need to uncover in our spirit, right? And this idea of sacrificing for out of a sense of absolute love for our fellow man is where we actually can find that. It's within us already, is what they're saying. It's a mine within us. It's already there and gives so much more than just material possessions. A lot of us are like, well, if I give this away, am I going to get it back? And, what about this? And what about that? And though we live in a material world with that's superficial in many ways, and I understand there's concerns there, but the things we get back, the worldly things we sacrifice, when they're sacrificed for the right reasons, when we let go of them for the right reasons, the closer we are to God and there becomes less between us and that God of our understanding. And we start to realize that none of the material really matters. We start to realize that the more we let go of, the more peace we have, the more absolute love we can practice, the more faith we can function on. because our perspective is completely changed. And like I said, it's been my experience that I didn't even know what I needed until I started practicing this principle and sacrificing my time, sacrificing money, sacrificing things that I never thought I'd let go of. And this includes drugs and alcohol. This includes smoking. This includes a career. This includes money. There's so much that I've had to let go of, and the peace of mind and the joy and the happiness and the contentment and the fulfillment in life that I found on the other side of it just absolutely amazed me. I didn't know that these things were possible for me to get. And I didn't do them to get I didn't sacrifice those things to get those things either. Those were just side effects of living this way, right? And people will go to pretty extreme measures sometimes. You'll see people take vows of poverty. Those with money problems, those with a unhealthy attachment to money will take a vow of poverty. And I think I think Tolstoy did that. Because they realize that has no bearing on what is the true meaning and fulfillment in life. They're willing to let those things go so that they may actually have a full relationship with the God of their understanding. And to be able to bring that relationship and into their lives and practice it with other people. And live well and live right and live a Christ-like life to the best of your ability, to our ability, to their ability. But I also want to do a word of caution here. But don't sacrifice only to pursue or to personally gain from God, right? This mine of blessings that resides within us is not one that produces when we're selfishly trying to make it produce. We have to take actions and from absolute love and make the appropriate sacrifices. And through doing that, our relationship grows deeper. Through practicing absolute love with our fellow man, our relationships grow and develop with a God of our understanding. And then as a side effect, we get these blessings. We get no guarantee what the blessings are going to be. We get no guarantee when the blessings are going to show up. We get no guarantee of anything when we sacrifice from a place of absolute love. But when they do come, most of the time they'll sneak in on you and you won't even realize it. I didn't recognize serenity until I was right in the middle of it. And I was so grateful to have experienced it. Even in that first fleeting moment of serenity where I felt stillness, where I felt peace, that I can now call upon at any moment. What a powerful thing. What a incredible thing to do is to be able to call that forward at any moment and try to live from that place. But I didn't know what that was. If I had asked God for which blessings to give me, I would have shortchanged myself. I would have been disappointed. I wouldn't have even known what I was missing out on. And what I would have asked for would not have fulfilled the way this does. It's amazing how this works when we're doing it for the right reasons. And they quote St. Augustine here, which summed up that doing the right thing for the right reasons, right? It's who is good except he be made so by loving. It's not you're just automatically good and Well, here's the goodness, here's the loving, and just go hold on to it and don't share it with anybody, right? That relationship with absolute love deepens and grows, and it becomes more fruitful the more we practice it. The intention is to be giving it to others. The intention is to be able to help our fellow man and to be able to help grow and connect with and build this beautiful world with. And when we practice absolute love, we grow in absolute love. We have more within us to give. We're willing to sacrifice what needs to be done to practice these actions and these behaviors of absolute love in our life to bring absolute love into this world, right? It's such an incredible quote. It's so short and simple, but it has everything is in that quote, right? What is good except he that be made so by loving, right? Forgiveness comes when you practice forgiveness. Kindness comes when you practice kindness. Love comes when you practice love. Goodness comes when you practice good. Right? Everyone wants to worry about building their self-esteem and building their self-respect. Well, act in a way that's respectable and esteemable. If you are acting in a way that you believe is wrong, no matter how long you stare in the mirror, no matter how many affirmations you give yourself, you will not believe them. I'm sorry to disappoint you. You have to begin to act differently. You need to begin to act in a way that is respectful, that you can respect yourself because of. You have to have ideals and you have to have principle you need to function from. Who is good except he be made so by loving? Remember that. And then the last, I think maybe two sentences is what a beautiful summation. Radiating absolute love to all mankind makes for invulnerability to hurts and misfortune and unites us to the Holy Spirit. That is the art of living in perfection. How incredible of a way to end this chapter. And there's a really big a promise right there. Radiating absolute love. So when we connect with God, we bring that into ourselves and we practice absolute love with our fellow man and bring it into this world in every way and capacity absolutely possible, right? We become invulnerable to hurts and all its misfortunes. Wow, well, that's a pretty powerful statement there. That's a promise too. It doesn't say you can become, you might become. It says if you practice absolute love, you will become invulnerable to the hurts and misfortunes of this world, and you will be united to the Holy Spirit, right? You will become peace. You will become serene, and you will bring that into the world when you have this right perspective, when you have this understanding of absolute love and its application in the world and the lens you view this world through, right? This lets you see the world's attacks as what they are. And you don't need to take it personally anymore. You allow the world to just be exactly what the world is. And it's not your responsibility to change the world to what you think is right. You cannot fix the world because you know how to fix the world. You practice absolute love and you bring God's love into this world, and through that, the world becomes fixed. Our responsibility is to practice absolute love on a daily basis, moment by moment, in every capacity, every thought, word, and deed. We are to practice absolute love, and through that, God will work miracles. And through that peace and that serenity that you will have, the world does not bother anymore. We stop becoming so reactive to this world because we hold within us the truth. We hold within us what is right and good. And this world can't convince us otherwise. It can't convince me otherwise anymore. I know I make mistakes, but who I am today, I have a belief in. And I have a belief in that because I've had an experience with a God of my understanding that brought love and kindness into my heart. And I know that's what I'm supposed to bring into this world. And if the world doesn't like it, if the world wants to be critical of it, if the world wants to reject it, that is not my problem. And I do not take it personally anymore. So, what a promise, what a chapter, what a great experience. I didn't realize the Four Absolutes would turn into such a unit for this podcast, but this has been an incredible journey through these Four Absolutes, and I've really, really appreciated the love I've gotten back from it, from you guys, and just the ability to share this with y'all. So thank you so much for that. Now, what I'd like to do is introduce the next book. So I alluded to it last week that I'm going to be, I've read this book many times, and I have implemented things from it every single time. And this time I'm doing a very intentional and thorough working through the book. And I would like to take y'all with me with it, actually, and have some conversations about it. And hopefully you guys can grow right along with me. And this is another James Allen book. Surprise, surprise. I know y'all are. But it's called Out from the Heart. That will be the next book we're going through. Specifically, we're going to be going through the chapter. It's called First Steps in the Higher Life. Now, there is so much in this book that is absolutely incredible and relevant. So we probably will go through all the chapters eventually on this podcast, but I really wanted to focus on this first steps in the higher life because there's so much fundamental good information in it, and it's things that where I am now in my own personal life, I needed to take a look at my foundations. You know, every once in a while, you need to take a look at your foundations and see where you can improve and where you can change and what you need to do differently. So I'm really excited to bring you all along again, Out from the Heart, James Allen. And I'll be reading from one of two copies I have from that are very old. I do not know the dates on these. These are old enough. They did not provide the dates in the front, but I will be reading from these for accuracy's sake, and we will go from there. So I am grateful for everyone that's stuck with me this long, and I will be looking forward to this next book. There might be some time between this episode going up and then this next book starting, just because of some events going on in the next 2 weeks. But we should be. It should be going up. We should be getting started shortly with this book. So maybe a week, maybe 2 weeks, but definitely by the end of February, you'll be getting another episode from me. Or maybe I'll find the time to actually put it in next week and keep this thing going. But if I don't, please take care. And I'm excited to see you next time. So until next time, thanks.